Hello everyone, today we're gonna read Baking After Hours by Damien Darkside. This is a Pinkie Pie and a original character story. So let's just hop right into it. Cream-filled pies. Being a pastry chef was possibly the easiest job you could work in. There were ponies who worked construction sites, there were ponies who collected garbage, and there were even ponies who had the misfortune of teaching children. You, however, had the lovely time of creating baked delights to please every pony. Why wouldn't you love the job? The cakes were absolutely wonderful bosses and welcomed you and your help. First and foremost, you kept an eye on their other assistant, Pinkie Pie, from tasting everything. That alone saved them enough money in the long run. Paired with your excellent sales manner and talent for keeping ponies happy, you were making them plenty of bits. Those bits made their way onto you as well in the end, which was fantastic because you literally lost everything when you appeared in Equestria. Seriously, you did lose everything. 1 second you were in the shower thinking about picking up some tacos for dinner, and then you were naked in a pond. Now that would have been a terrible experience itself, but unfortunately the pond you somehow found yourself was occupied. Even worse is that the pond was occupied by a member of the Lunar Guard who decided that she was going to take a skinny dip on her day off. You discovered a few things in the first few hours. You were not in on Earth anymore. That was obvious after you were dunked underwater and got the soap out of your eyes. The bat pony mare, whose chest you had violated when you flailed around, had a Scottish accent and swore like an entire group of sailors. Lastly, bat ponies were terrible at swimming and couldn't fly with soaked wings. Needless to say, you never have washed your hair and your body at the same time since then, and you mostly take baths. You have also been the only being to be able to outrun the Lunar Guard. The long short of it was that you are now in a place where anthropomorphic marshmallow technicolor ponies resided. They all looked like humans, but they were covered in a very small and fine hairs. Their faces had partially equine muscles, and their ears were definitely horse-like. Hands were pretty much the same as your hands, but their feet was still hooves. It made getting shoes a bitch, but you never really complained. Another huge benefit was the fact that the town you lived in consisted mostly of mares. Majority of the stallions either worked in larger cities like Manhattan or Canterlot. Tons of the single mares were absolutely beautiful too. Fluttershy was a shy cutie, Rainbow Dash was aggressive and flirty, Rarity was a bombshell, and Twilight was definitely the target of your innocent but freaky fantasies. The best in your opinion was the mare who was currently mixing batter 10 feet from you. Pinkie Pie was probably your favorite mare to be around. Not only was she was friends with your smooth-skinned ass since the day Celestia cleared you to be with the main population, she even got you your job as well. Oh, and she also had hips that an old Russian woman would be happy to see in their daughter-in-law. Her pink and white hips and overconsumption of sweets gave her the best ass you had ever seen on a girl, human or not. To balance it all out with the fact that she seemed to never stop moving, so it didn't make her obese. Sure, she wasn't a twig like Twilight Sparkle or fit like Rainbow Dash, but even with the little bit of weight on her seemed to complement her figure. Everything on Pinkie just seemed to fit her superbly. Her pink hair and tail also bounced along with her wherever she went. Thanks Celestia, they weren't actually ponies. Who would want to fuck that? Besides, you couldn't get a pony to wear jeans like Pinkie Pie did. Speaking of those jeans, you caught a quick glance at her denim-covered backside as she went to get a few ingredients from the pantry. You were focusing on making the icing that would be going on a few cakes you were making for this weekend. Your thoughts were shaken as you looked up from your work to see your two bosses, Cup and Carrot Cake, descend the stairs. Hey you two, are you guys getting those cakes done for the parties on Sunday? Carrot asked as you stirred the bowl with a whisk. Yes sir, don't you worry about it. You could probably take the entire weekend off to visit family or something, and we could run the place, Pinkie Pie said as she took a giant bag of flour out of the pantry. Yes dearie, that is quite nice. Please keep working. We just have to steal your co-worker for a moment, okay? Cupcake spoke as she motioned you over to her. Okie dokie Loki, Pinkie responded as she hummed a tune to herself. You placed the bowl down as you walked over to the cakes. You felt some apprehension because you have never been in a situation that turned out right when a boss asked to speak with you privately. You met with them upstairs in their main hallway and you did your best to calm yourself. Did they know about the one time where you took a small bag of sugar home for your own coffee? Could they have known that one time where you and Tree Hugger made up a ton of pot brownies in their ovens? Sorry to bring this up suddenly, but you know how Cupcake's mother has been in the hospital recently? Carrot asked you as Cup fidgeted a little bit. Of course, he remembered. That is when you baked a shit ton of illegal baked goods with the mayor who gave you a killer blowjob after? Yeah, Pinkie and I ran the store the next day. Everything turned out fine. Why? You need to get out for a day or two, you asked. Cupcake seemed relieved that you suggested it first. Yes, we need to go to Canterlot for the entire weekend. Would it be okay if you looked after the store until Monday? We will pay you overtime, of course. It was an easy decision. Sure, just as long as Pinkie doesn't have to make friends with some kind of dragon or something with Twilight. I am sure we will be able to manage. When are you guys leaving? Carrot pointed to the suitcases behind you that you didn't notice and almost backed into. As soon as the taxi shows up to get to the train station, we are taking the last train out. Just gotta take Pumpkin and Pound as well. We are so sorry to tell you at such short notice. Hey, it's no problem, guys. Family first. You just concentrate on making sure Cup's mom is comfortable and we will run the store ourselves. I'll even be nice and fill in the cash reports for you. The parents both looked super relieved. Thank you so much. We couldn't do this without you. Not to insult Pinkie Pie, but she isn't the kind of pony that we can leave unsupervised in the store. Don't worry about it. It's supposed to rain this weekend anyways, so we should be able to keep a handle on everything. All the cakes for tomorrow will be done tonight, and I'll get a head start on getting some things that can be made for tomorrow. After many thanks, a few phone numbers, and long hugs from Pinkie Pie, you and the party pony waved goodbye to Carrot and Cupcake. See, I knew they needed to get away this weekend. Too bad it isn't for a vacation, but it doesn't mean that we can't have our own fun while they are gone. Calm down there, Pinkie. You know we gotta get all these cakes done or some kids will have a disappointing birthday. Pinkie Pie took an audible gasp as she suddenly looked very serious. A birthday without cake? That would be the worst thing to ever happen. Foes will look so sad seeing the pile of presents and not a single sugary sweet cake to devour to turn into a sugar-crazed monsters for their parents to try and control. At points like this, it was just wise to ignore Pinkie Pie and let her go on her little rant about the cruel reality of cakeless parties. You also didn't tell her that you preferred pie over cake too, just to make sure she didn't have a complete mental breakdown. The evening went on pretty well too. You got a few cheesecakes in the fridge for tomorrow ready to set overnight. While you were doing that, Pinkie Pie was working on cookie dough. You got the cash register all set up for the morning and the float was all accounted for. Pinkie Pie was lightly dancing and moving to some kind of techno on the radio. DJ Pone 3 was getting really popular with some other artists lately and have been taking over the music scene. Maybe one day you'll hear Minotaurs write Viking death metal or something. That'll make an amazing cover for an album. You fully enjoyed your work as well, doing some dishes while Pinkie Pie made some cake mix to bake the cakes in a little bit. You decided to break up Pinkie Pie's singing with a few questions. Hey Pinks, you said as you tried to get a little bit of burnt chocolate off a pan. What is it like knowing you saved the world a few times? What you mean, what is it like? Pinkie asked as she looked up from her mixing. Well, you and your friends have saved Princess Luna from her own demons, you kept a dragon away from Ponyville, there was that sombrero guy who wanted to make crystals, and some bugs wanted to take over Equestria. I am sure I am even missing a few things too. Well, how do I put it? Pinkie wondered as she tapped her forward arm. I know it is silly, but I have so many friends and parties to look after and take care of, so all my think goes to thinking about those instead of my thinking about the world stuff. You're a think? You made air quotes with your soapy fingers. I think with my brainy brain. I only have so much energy to do things in a day, so I concentrate on doing those instead of how we did things. Same with most of the girls. I think Dashy's think is all into the Wonderbolts. Rar has to run her fashion-y store. Flirters has all those animals to feed. Applejack has all those apples to buck. Even Twilight and Spiky Wikey have that entire castle and sciencey things to take care of. Pinkie looked serious for a moment before smiling. So with so much to do now, why think about stuff that happened? For a mare who spent too much time face first in a bowl of icing, she sure could sound smart with a completely made up words and concepts. Okay, so you just don't think about it? That was a pretty good explanation now. If it makes sense to you, then I don't have to worry about anything else, Pinkie replied. Besides, when that stuff happens, I get all worried about all my friends, that I just have to do something. I wouldn't want any of us to be replaced by bugs or crystals. Plus, we can't have Sundays without the sun. That is what Monday is for. Moon Day. We can't have 2 Mondays in a row. That doesn't make any sense. I had to save the calendar. Pinkie raised her spatula and the bit of the chocolate frosting she was working with landed on her cheek. Without thinking, you dried off your finger on your apron before wiping the chocolate goodness off her cheek and sampled it. Well, it is a good thing to know you were worried about us. We worry about you too, Ponka. Oh my gosh, you worry about me? Pinkie exclaimed, her eyes lighting up. Of course I do. Who else is going to help me with all these cakes? Sweetie Belle, she'd burned down the kitchen looking for a cutie mark. Pinkie puffed her cheeks in false annoyance. Why, I was hoping you'd actually miss me. You rolled your eyes while smiling. Of course I'd miss my absolutely bestest friend, Pinkie. She moved close to you as she put a dirty bowl in the sink. Of course you'd miss me. You'd also miss my butt. She bumped her hip against yours as she walked past. That was the line. History was always written by the victors of any given engagement. There are times in your life where you can either take the chance and put all the cards on the table. You were a fucking beta. There you were going to roll that die and see what you get before the succulent piece of ass walked away, and it would be weird. Oh, course I'd miss your ass. It is one of the best things I like about you. Good enough. She replied with giggling, which you took as a good sign. Well, this pink butt needs to be in the shower. I'm so covered in sugar that you could shove a stick into me and sell me as candy. You are too sweet already, Pinkie. You might give me a cavity. Now go have a shower and I'll finish up down here. We just have to wait to bake the cake layers. Pinkie replied with a quick okie dokie Loki and left to go upstairs. You took the time just to concentrate on the kitchen and doing most of the dishes. After leaving a bunch of pans to soak in some hot water, you took out a bunch of decorations and icings to take care of fixing up the cakes once all of them had been baked. You went back to finishing up the pans when you heard the fridge behind you open and close. You didn't hear Pinkie even come downstairs, but considering how she could end up everywhere at any time, you stopped questioning her. Hey Pinks, you had a good shower? Showers are always great after a long day. You heard her speaking behind you as you scrubbed a particularly nasty spot. Now I just have a problem with cold hands. Before you could react at all, you felt two very cold hands grip your neck from behind. You almost jumped out of your socks and swore a storm before turning around. You always wondered if Pinkie had any interest in you, considering how she was leaning back against the table in the middle of the kitchen, wearing only a small towel and grinning like the devil. You got your answer. Her hair was surprisingly already dry and poofy, and her tail came in between her legs. Her lightly furred pink breasts were tightly constricted by the plain white fabric, and it looked like she was going to pop out any moment. Her towel was ridiculously short as well too, and if it wasn't for her tail getting in the way, you'd definitely see how excited she was to be in front of you like this. Time to roll the dice that one last time as you shook your hands dry and walked right up to her. Well, I see you found something fun for us to do in the meantime. She laughed before pressing her lips against yours. She surprisingly didn't taste as sweet as you thought she would. Then again, she wasn't made of pure sugar, so it wouldn't make sense if she tasted like candy. Her lips felt incredible, and it felt like you were being charged with her excitement and enthusiasm. She broke the kiss and poked your chest. You thought we would just sit here and make funny faces at each other? I figured that since no pony is going to be here all night, we can have some fun together. Now get those clothes off. I want to know what kind of treat I can have. You were going to make some sort of sexual pun, but you couldn't find one that would ruin the mood. Under Pinkie's watchful eyes, you stripped out of your clothes and stepped out of your pants. Well, is that a good enough treat for you, Pinkie? With a decent amount of dexterity, she took the towel off her body and used it to pull you against her. Her smile this time wasn't her usual super huge grin, but more of a playful smirk that told you without words that she certainly did approve. Her soft pink breast pressed against your chest and her hard nipples pressed into your skin. Your lips met again at the same time. Your hands slapped against her flanks and squeezed softly. She pressed her tongue against your lips and you immediately opened your mouth to commence with making out. Her light moans into your mouth encouraged you to be aggressive as your hands groped her rear, as well as lightly pulled on her dock. Whilst you insulted one another's mouth with your tongues, you turned it around so your ass hit the table. Pinkie Pie tossed the towel onto the central table as she broke the kiss. Now I have a treat to make, and we are both going to enjoy this. Put your butt right up on there and let me go to work. What are you thinking of doing? Oh. Your question was answered as you were speaking as Pinkie picked up a very large bag of whipped cream and chocolate syrup. A sundae with my dick? Isn't that a little bit cliche? She shrugged. I was thinking of eating a donut off you, but you would split it in half super duper easily. So instead I'm going to make myself a treat and I need a banana. You just spread your legs to give her more access to your mostly hard shaft. Go nuts. She placed the chocolate onto the table and used that free hand to stroke your shaft before lightly cupping your balls. These are the only nuts I am interested in. Silly. Now enjoy it as much as I do, cause I am really going to enjoy this. You controlled your flinching as much as you could, but the whipped cream was cold and she used a lot. She was finishing quickly and the cold sensation was mostly pleasant as you got used to it. Pinkie reached beside you and picked up a bottle of strawberry syrup as well as the chocolate one she had. You took this time to admire her figure as she prepared you. Her breasts showed minimal sag and her lighter pink nipples were nice and perky. Her body's actually slimmed a little until it got to her amazing hips and you couldn't wait to get under that tail to check the rest of her out. A few streams of sugary sweetness later and Pinkie made herself a treat that made her mouth water, as was evident at her dreamily looking at your crotch and lightly drooling. That looks so yummy, now lay down, I got an idea, Pinkie Pie instructed. You didn't want to question the hot baker in front of you, so you laid back. Pinkie circled to the other side of the table and jumped up onto it. She crawled over to you and gave you an upside-down kiss. Now this way, we both can have something to enjoy. With a wink and another quick lip mash, she moved over your body. In less than a second, her lower half was directly over your face. Your time with Tree Hugger and a few other mares prepared you for Pinkie's parts. Pony Pussy was pretty much exactly like a human's, with slightly larger clits, which was just a benefit for both of you. Pinkie Pie, however, was the first mare you had ever been with any lips. And honestly, could you be surprised? Her tight asshole was just a little bit below her tail, and you wondered if she would be into you teasing it a bit while you ate her out. A thin trail of arousal connected Pinkie's tail to her heated sex. You heard your favorite mare babble on a little bit while you were distracted by her gorgeous and sizable ass before you felt a wide, flat tongue lick off a good chunk of cream around your tip. You took that as a good sign to start licking. You grabbed Pinkie's butt again since she enjoyed you massaging her cutie marks before you took a few quick licks of her marehood. She was unsurprisingly a little bit sweeter than more mares you performed oral on. You figured with such a high sugar diet she would have a sweetness about her. You moved your thumbs down a bit to open her up before slipping your tongue inside. You were rewarded with a moan and a very talented tongue dancing along your shaft. Pinkie took her time to enjoy your shaft and was slower working you over. She diligently licked off the creamy whipped topping from your cock before making a tight seal over your tip with her lips. She swirled her tongue across your head, causing you to twitch and reflexively thrust a little into her mouth. You decided to play her game and lashed your lips around her clit and give her the same attention as well. The mutual moaning from both of you only caused the pleasure to build higher. You doubted that the Princess of Love herself couldn't give you head like this. Pinkie slowly sank down on your shaft, and it wasn't long before you felt the hot air from her nose against your sticky sack. Pinkie started to bob as you switched between her clit and her insides. You weren't going to last much longer in her throat, especially as she swallowed and groaned around your sensitive member. You dipped a finger lightly into her candy cut and soaked it before moving it up to her puckered star. You circled her tail hole a little to gauge her reaction, and when she moaned loudly and irritated her hips a little, you took that as a clear sign. You pressed against her tight hole, and it sank in pretty easily. Of course, Pinkie Pie would enjoy a bit of anal now and then. It fit her personality. Bobo girl like her probably had a super crazy sex toy chest. Thrusting your finger into her back door and your talented tongue was taking a toll on her resolve, but she was doing the same to you as well. It was starting to become a contest between the both of you on who was going to make the other one come the fastest. You mutually doubled your efforts and went to town on each other. Pinkie was the one who came first, and you felt her loud squeak around your cock as she rolled out her orgasm on your face. Her fluids ran down the sides of your cheeks as her hips ground her pussy onto you. She was able to still stimulate you as she squirted, and you idly licked her clean. She moved her hands to your ass and lifted it slightly and dropped it again, as if to give you a signal. You slowly started to thrust into her throat as she moved her head to match your pace. The kitchen was filled with a gluck noise as you throat fucked Pinkie Pie. You weren't going to last much longer with a hot mouth working you over and her pink puffy pussy in her sights. I'm gonna come, Pinkie, you warned her before thrusting a few more times. You didn't feel her move off of you, and you proceeded to blast Pinkie's throat and mouth. with rope after rope of your hot, sticky semen. One of her hands lightly stroked the bottom of your shaft as the other cupped your balls, as if to encourage you, emptying them inside her. You felt like you did, however, and slumped back onto the table. Your afterglow was interrupted by Pinkie's deciding that now was the perfect time to let you slip out of her mouth and sit up. Your world was instantly pink and fuzzy as her generous cheeks almost completely smothered you. Wowie, you certainly had been a bit backed up. I wasn't expecting you to shoot so much. Hopefully we can be alone more often so you don't almost make me choke on your yummy icing. Did you eat pineapple? While Pinkie was talking about how much she liked swallowing your jizz, you realized that the hole that was now above your mouth wasn't the one that was for making babies. You considered the implications of what you were about to do for maybe a second or two. She was kinky and she just showered, so that meant she was willing and clean. You let loose your twisting and poking muscle into her back door, which was loosened up by your finger before. As you did so, you gripped her hips with your hands and kept her ass right on your face. Her approval was immediate. Oh, wow, I can't believe you just did that. Every pony I have ever done this with totally thought it was gross. You might just be as freaky as I am. I can't wait to see what you won't. Wow, that is nice. What won't you do? You smiled and slipped your tongue into her rear. She was definitely clean, though. Most likely that was what her shower was for, and you were grateful. This was one step away from something that wasn't your fetish. Pinks liked it though, and you figured I would get you more action later, which was good for you. She seemed to melt on your tongue, and you just might have figured out her main fetish. A ringing was heard on the background of the cake being finished. Geez, that is really good. We have to stop and get that. Oh yeah, or the cake will burn. Sweet Celeste, you stay right here. Somewhat reluctantly, parting from her butt, you pushed her up a bit to help her up. Pinkie rolled off the counter and donned a skimpy apron before moving to the oven. Her legs were a little shaky, but she was able to take the cake out without too much effort. She replaced it with another cake that was ready to bake and let the other one cool. As she did so, her tail was raised nice and high for you, a slightly open tail hole and a dripping wet pussy. Needless to say, your motor definitely got running by seeing that pink bouncy baker's breast bounce and her hole on full display for you. You hoped this wouldn't be the last time either. You were still sitting on the table with your legs hanging off the edge. Pinkie didn't even try to walk over all slow and sexy like other mares would. She almost ran over, jumped onto the table and straddled your lap. She wasted no time connecting her lips. Yours and hummed as you both kissed again. Your cock was nestled right in between her butt cheeks and she giggled as her hips gyrated. You stroked her back as she pleasured you with her plush pink buns. She was trying to grab something behind you, and you leaned back a bit so she could have access to whatever she was looking for. Pulling back, she rested on your lap and gave you a very good view of her breast. What you like more, chocolate, strawberry, or caramel? Pinkie asked as she held 3 bottles. Why choose when you can have all 3? You replied with a devious grin. She bounced on your lap, much to your pleasure, and replied with, I love the way you think. She used both her hands to arrange the 3 bottles in a line, then squeezed them at the same time. Generous streams of the 3 toppings hit her chest just below her collarbone and started to drip down her body. Sticky sweet strawberry slipped slickly down the belly and sides of her breasts. Chocolate and caramel glazed her generous bosoms and slowly dropped from her erect nipples. She was halfway through saying, go ahead and dig in, when your mouth latched onto her chocolate nipple and worked to get some delicious sauce before moving on to the strawberry before it ran down too much. It was to no avail though. Even though her fur did slow the flow of the delicious delicacies, you couldn't stop them from dripping down to your joined waist. You didn't mind though, and Pinkie's cheerful giggles and moans filled the room as you proceeded to make an absolute mess out of her chest. You made a note to do this again with closer to a shower next time, because you two were getting dirty, though that was kind of her point. Usually the best and most enjoyable foreplay you have ever done, not to mention the most fun. When most of your treat was finished, you both hugged to see how much chocolate, strawberry, and caramel you can make a disaster of on your bodies. It was a decent amount. The whole time your erection was throbbing against Pinkie's tailhole, the tip lightly teasing her slicked entrance. Your previous work wasn't good enough to let you just slide into her, but you constantly felt her entrance get probed by your member. The baker slid off your lap and you both examined the damage as you got off the table. Both of your chests and groins were sticky, but you both were hot and ready to go another round. Okay, now I don't want to clean up just yet, but I don't want you to get me sick by sticking your fun stick in me, so how's about... She thought for a few seconds before you could almost see a light bulb go off above her head. I know, how about you stick your dick right into my pooper? You like my ass, so... Pinkie bent over the table and raised her tail. You want to go for the high road this time? You were certainly game, but something was missing. Sure, Pinks, but we are gonna need lube before I stick it in ya. I'm certain you can find something, cutie. Now you may have been a little lust drunk and not thinking straight. It was reasonable and it happened to enjoy. Only enough blood to run one head, and you had two. In your bizarre state of thinking, you completely missed the thought of possibly using some kind of oil and looked to the counter where there was a gigantic bag of whipped cream. So you looked at the bag and then back to Pinkie's pink pucker. Then you looked at Pinkie as she looked back to see what you were looking at. You looked at the bag of whipped cream and she did too. Looking into her eyes, you wordlessly communicated. You raised your eyebrow and she nodded as if to say, "Do it, Philly." Shrugging, you picked up the slightly cool bag of whipped dairy product. You squeezed some out onto your fingers to test the consistency, and you found it was pretty smooth. Placing two cream-covered fingers against her back door, you gently pushed on her entrance. You didn't know if you should be surprised or not, but your fingers slid in with way less resistance than you thought. Oh, that is chilly, but it worked. Keep going, Pinkie encouraged. You spread your fingers to open her up a little bit before slipping the plastic nubbed end of the bag into her rear. You pulled out your fingers and her ring sealed the end inside of her. You took 2 seconds to think about how much you were going to actually fill her up with. Then you realized that this was Pinkie Pie, who probably was more kinkier than you were, and you were starting to really enjoy it. You gripped the top of the bag, slowly filling her with creamy and cold whipped topping. You used your other hand to gently slide along the sides of the bags. You know it's pretty extreme, but you crossed the line when you both agreed to using whipped cream as lube. So you couldn't help but grin like a madman as you filled her up. Soon enough, your hand met her ass. Oh wow, that. You used the whole thing? Sweet Celestia, this is so weird, but it feels pretty good. I am really happy you don't mind a mess because I don't see this ending pretty clean. A little bit of cream remained in the bag, making a tiny dollop of whipped cream land directly on her pucker. You had the strong urge to place a cherry right on top. Instead, you grabbed her hips and placed the tip of your dick against the cream. Pushing forward slowly, you were immediately assaulted with a little bit of a chill as Pinkie's ring squeezed down on your shaft. With her tightness and your girth, not much of the white substance left as you pushed deeper inside her. Eventually, your hips met hers as you held in her sweet, succulent tailhole. Wow, warm, thick, and chilly. We should try something else like that sometime. You can keep going, I can take it, Pinkie said as she rocked her hips a bit, grinding into her crotch, her tail getting sticky as it slid across your chest. You are tight still too. Fuck, it feels great, you replied as you pulled out and slid back into her ass with more force. Knew you would love my ass, Pinkie gasped as you fully fucked her rear. Pinkie's insides eventually warmed up, which only made the whipped cream within her slip out of her on your strokes. It was sloppy, it was wet as all hell, and you can feel your legs get slowly covered in with milky substance as you pounded. Pinkie's plot. You sped up until you were fucking her as if you were using her cunt. Wet slaps filled the bakery as you two enjoyed each other's bodies to the fullest. Pinkie dipped and raised her ass to let you slide into her faster. She rested her arms against the towel and her sticky nipples were making chocolate and caramel marks against the stainless steel surface of the table. Her cries of ecstasy were music to your ears as you groped her plentiful hips. Her ass jiggled with the force of your thrusts, making them bounce wonderfully and allowing yourself to get into a rhythm easier. Oh geez, this is too much. Gonna come, Pinkie cried out as she moved to meet your thrusts. You didn't give her any mercy either. You continued to jam your cock into her willing ass while you felt her squeeze down on your member. The cream that was on both of your thighs were joined by her own cum as she squirted against you. You were almost there yourself, but you were enjoying just how depraved you two were. Raising a somewhat chocolate-covered hand, you brought it down upon the jiggly ass in front of you. The sound of the clap, as well as her own "yes, more," resounded through the bakery. She drooled on the table. The towel fell to the floor into the puddle you two were making. Her pink ass turned red as you spent a little bit making that butt jiggle. Your work was rewarded with Pinkie's legs getting shaken as she had another orgasm on your rod. Pinkie was just spitting gibberish as you fucked her silly. Her top half was limp against the table as you used her body for your own pleasure. The way she was twitching and stuttering only proved to show how much she was actually enjoying her experience. Eventually, all good things came to an end, though, and with one last thrust and a cry of your own, you emptied yourself into the pink mare. Not any time before have you thought you could come so hard. Pinkie gripped and squeezed your seed out of you while you continued to grind your hips against her plump bottom. You shot several thick ropes of pin-up seed into her stomach to mix with any cream left inside of her. The little bit of cream that oozed out around your cock only added to the moment. As if you filled her up like in those hentai videos you used to watch. You pulled out of her ass and moved back to lean against the sink to try and catch your breath. Your chest heaved as you realized how much you actually exerted yourself in thoroughly claiming Pinkie as your own. Pinkie's ass was covered in chocolate and whipped cream, her gaping tail hole oozing melted whipped cream in a small but steady stream. Her legs were coated in various fluids, and there was a puddle in the ground. Pinks, you are gonna need another shower. Pinkie Pie just raised a finger in the air as if to say 1 minute. You were confused at first, then you heard the buzzer go off, signaling that the last cake was finished. Pinkie shakily got up and waved you off when you offered help. I got it, she told you as her body moved to the oven. She took the cake out as fast as she could and replaced it on the counter. She leaned against the counter facing you, breathing heavily. You wanna have a shower with me? Pinkie offered. You were going to answer before her stomach gurgled and the rest of the whipped cream obeyed gravity and flowed out of her and down her legs. You both just broke down in laughter. Yeah, I'll join you. This is gonna be one hell of a mess to clean up. Pinkie was surprisingly blushing a bit. Hey, this is kinda sudden and such, I know, but if you wanna... Can we totally get dinner before we have dessert tomorrow? You patted her pink head with the back of your hand to keep caramel from sticking. Totally, Pinkie, now let's get clean. Yeah, I'm a cream-filled pie now, thanks to you. God damn it, Pinkie. The end. Alright, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. I had a couple laughs here and there. That was a good reading. Well, thank you guys for watching. And I'll see you guys in the next reading that I'll do. Have a great night or day, and I'll see you guys later.
100,000 stories have filled my head as I look for the answers in what